Sagittari, Washington, and today I'll be sharing what I've learned about children's literature and history and how we evaluate books and the importance of emergent literacy in shaping young readers. For the beginning slide, we'll be going over history on children's literature. Slide 2. What is children's literature? Children's literature is more than just stories for kids. It's writing that entertains, teaches, and reflects the world children live in, from picture books to informational text. It helps younger readers imagine, explore, and understand life. Now we'll be going over genres in children's literature. Children's books come in many different forms: picture books, nursery rhymes, folk tales, fantasies, realistic stories, and informational text. Each genre serves a purpose, from sparking creativity to teaching real world lessons. Okay, here we'll be going over the beginnings of children's literature. In the beginning, children's literature all started off as more of moral and religious instructions. Books like horn books and fables weren't as really fun, nor were some all too kid friendly. The reason for this was because in the beginning they were meant to be crisp, to the point, and teach discipline and values, important values to the young ones. All right, growth of literature for children. By the 19th century, books started to shift toward more imagination and enjoyment. Stories like Alice in Wonderland invited children to dream, and illustrations became just as important as the words. So, you didn't always need a thrilling or life inducing story to get children to know some of the core values. Lastly, for the history of children's literature, we have children's literature of today. Today, children's books are more diverse and inclusive than ever before. They come in many formats, from graphic novels to digital stories, and they even help kids see themselves while learning empathy, identity, and critical thinking. For the next couple of slides, we will now be going over the importance of selecting and evaluating books. For this slide, we will be going over why books selection matters. The books we place in our children's hands shape how they see themselves and the world. The right book can really build confidence and spark imagination and teach valuable lessons. So always remember, it always comes down to the books that your children become exposed to, what books they decide to put in their hands, and what books you are able to put in their hands. Now, time for key considerations in selection. When selecting books, we think about age appropriateness, culture representation, engaging text, and strong illustrations. A good book should invite curiosity while respecting the children's stage of development. So, you don't want to give them a book that's too much for them to process, but you also don't want to give them a book that's too little for them to process. The reason why you don't want to give them a book that's too little for them to process or too easy for them to process is you still want their brains to grow. You still want them to develop. Evaluating children's books. Evaluation means looking beyond just the cover. Are the themes positive? Are the illustrations free from stereotypes? Do the words match a child's understanding? These details ensure quality and inclusiveness. And lastly, for the section of importance of selecting and evaluating books, the educators and parents' role. In this sort of fashion, it all comes down to this. Parents and teachers are the gatekeepers of what children read. They guide young readers toward books that both inspire and challenge them, while also giving them the space to make choices. It's the job of the parents and the educators to guide them. All right, here's up for emergent literacy. What is emergent literacy? Emergent literacy is everything children learn about reading and writing before formal schooling. It includes recognizing letters, understanding print, building vocabulary, and enjoying stories. So, the teaching that comes before the child goes into school, that is emergent literacy. What can you teach them before they go into school? Before the school starts teaching them more of the formal things. Supporting emergent readers. We support emergent literacy by reading aloud, singing songs, and fulfilling environments with print. Simple routines, really, like bedtime stories or labeling objects, creating powerful learning moments. It can even come down to just allowing your kids to listen to books on tape as they sleep. All right, the last section of today's topic, books for children birth to 5. For here, we'll be going over books for infants. For infants, books are about sensory experiences. Cloth and board books with bold images and textures engage their curiosity and introduce them to the rhythm of language. It gets them to think while they're still in the developing stage. Gets them to recognize certain things. By the time they start to grow up, certain things become muscle memory. Books for toddlers, not infants, but toddlers. Toddlers love repetition. Concept books about colors, shapes, and counting, often with rhythm and rhyme, help them make connections while keeping them immersed. Trust me, if you can start them off while they're young with getting a sense of rhythm, a sense of repetition, things will be a lot better as they start to grow old. Because trust me, everybody has a system. Everybody has a system that has a rhythm. Books for the preschoolers. Preschoolers start to enjoy stories with short plots, alphabet books, counting books, and nursery rhymes collections. Both build literacy and imagination. Books with a little more excitement to it. Books for pre-K. That's where most people don't call pre-K, they just kindergarten. But anyway, I'm getting off topic. Books for pre-K. At this stage, children are ready for narratives with characters, conflict, and simple problem solving. Folk tales and fairy tales encourage prediction and moral lessons. At this stage, the children are able to take on more, they're able to process more. Now they start wanting to read stories that have more involvement, more details and definitions, should I say. For the last section of books for children birth to 5, we'll be going over wordless picture books and early readers. Wordless picture books are a bridge between imagination and literacy. They invite children to create their own stories. Early readers, with simple words and pictures, build confidence as kids transition to independent reading. Although I hadn't heard too much about wordless picture books, I do know that there are books that have more pictures than words in it, but those books are excellent examples as well, for they also give the kids a chance to create their imagination that fits the narrative of the story, that still follows along with the lesson. And that's what you also want, to invite them to think both inside and outside the box, but while also still respecting and learning and developing. All right, we've approached the end. This is truly the end, the conclusion. In summary, children's literature has grown from moral instructions to vibrant storytelling. Please, by carefully selecting books and supporting emergent literacy, we help children not just learn to read, but to learn to love reading. And believe me, once they get to a certain age, they can read books and immediately know what from what. They can know the left from right, and they can easily carry it in to wherever they go. And that's what you want to aim for. Give them an experience with reading where they can constantly learn from it. Take in information, lock it in a vault, in a vault that is ever growing with them as they grow. Truly, last but least, this is the references that I used. Some references were also from my own experiences. Nothing beats learning from your own experiences from time to time, no matter if it's good or bad. Well, thank you all for your time. Once again, I'm Agitar Washington, and I look forward to doing more presentations with y'all. Bye bye, and take care.